Not sure if anybody can hear me just yet. Welcome to the webinar for Back Office to Web Payroll. If you're out there, folks, welcome. And if you can just post in the chat where you're from, that gives me an idea of what part of the country we'll be talking to today. We'll actually begin in a minute or two once we get everybody on. Oh, hey, Julie. Welcome. Ryan. Wow. Nice. Seattle, Sioux Falls, Anaheim. Wow. All over the place. Hope the weather for you all is as nice as the weather it is here. Well, I'm in Asheville. It's about 70 degrees this morning or noon. But originally from Miami, Florida. I don't know if any of you remember me, but I was at Ultimate Software / UKG for close to 30 years. And now I'm here with Mosaic. We'll give it like one more minute and then I'm going to start. You have over 100 and there's close to 60 people on. So I'm going to give it just one more minute because I don't want to start and have people missing the subject matter. It's getting up there, close to 60 now. Okay, I think we're gonna get started. So once again, welcome everybody. I hope you all can hear me. If you cannot hear me, you can see me, but you cannot hear me. Please put a comment in, and we'll see what we can do to help you out. My name is Mario Arnez with Mosaic. I worked with Ultimate Software / UKG for a long time. I did a lot of training and implementation back then, so some of you might remember me. Um, uh, now I'm here with Mosaic, hosting this, and maybe hopefully see you again sometime. With me as my hostess with the mostest is Aisha Williams, also a longtime pro implementation person. Hey, Aisha, you want to introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. As Mario said, my name is Aisha Williams. I am also a legacy LTP, so I have been working with the system close to 10 years now, and I have about 30 years roughly in the payroll and HR space. I am with Mosaic and have been here for the last 3 years. Welcome to the webinar, everyone.
Yep. Thank you so much, Aisha, for joining. So just a little bit of housekeeping items. If you have any questions, we prefer that you put the questions in as we're talking about it. Aisha will be monitoring the chat, make sure that we answer all of your questions. No question is off limits. We want to make sure you get all the information. Hopefully with this presentation, it will put aside any fears or stress that you're thinking about when it comes to moving from the back office to the web. And if there's anything we can do to make that happen, that's what we're here for. Okay, I'm going to get started. Okay, so the agenda is quite simple. Why move to the web payroll to begin with? The steps that it takes in order to implement the web payroll, and believe it or not, some of this is already done for you all, and we'll talk about some of that stuff. Uh, the pros and cons of moving to the pro payroll, there really aren't a whole lot of cons at this point. Um, so we'll go through them, and if you think that there is a con on yours and your specific scenario, please put it out there, and we can all talk about it. When to move? Hey, you can do it right away. Why wait? Uh, as far as I know, next year the back office will be a sunset item. Basically, you will not be able to process payroll in the back office anymore. So that's down in 26. I don't have an exact date, but it's somewhere in 26. Um, but so it's a good time to start thinking about that and making the move. And then Q&A. And again, if you have a question, don't wait until I'm at the end of the presentation. Just as the questions come up, put it out there. And I got Miss Aisha here who's going to be monitoring it, and I'll be able to see them as well. Okay. All right, here we go. So why move to the web? Well, the web has something called the gateway, and a lot of these things are unique to the web because the back office doesn't have anything like a gateway. This is what we call the one-stop shop to payroll processing. It has all of the different processes. By that I mean open payroll, populate batch tables, calculate pay, print checks, that kind of thing. You can actually attach reports to specific processes in the web, which you cannot do in the back office. In the web, if you have, for example, the calculate pay step, with the calculate step, you can actually attach your pre-check register. So you have, by pushing one button, you have the calculate and the pre-check all in one. So at the end of the step, when it says completed, you have the report already created. In the back office, as you well know, you have to run the calculate, then you have to go into reports and run the report. It's a little bit different. And then you have all your business rules. Business rules are just another fancy way of saying setup tables. You have your pay groups and your earnings and your deductions. Those are all the business rules that are in the payroll gateway itself. And that way you don't have to leave. Everything is right there in front of you. Processing by status is not contingent on all pay groups being at the same step. You're probably wondering, well, what does that mean? Well, it means that let's say you have two or three different pay groups, and you're processing them all at the same time, which you can do in the back office and also the web. Well, you might have one pay group that is at the begin payroll start, and you have another pay group that is at the print checks. The web is smart enough to know that even if you select both of those pay groups, the system knows that the next step for the open payroll will be create pay batches, and the print checks might be create the direct deposit. It's all based on something we call a model, which is the next bullet down. A model is just a template, and we use template pretty wide here at UKG. Um, a template is just a model. What happens when you have the open payroll, you have the calculate step, you have the print, you have the post. Those are all part of processes. Something I want to bring up as far as processes. One of the fears that I used to talk to customers about was, well, I'm going to have to set up everything over again on the web. Wrong. The web is simply another user interface, what we call fancy a UI. The back office has a UI, the web has a UI, but the information in the tables and the processes that run on both systems is exactly the same. So when you print checks in the back office and you hit the print checks on the web, it's the same print checks. It's just a different interface to you. Okay. So that's a lot of people were confused, like, oh, I have to do a complete setup, everything. No, 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 not at all. In fact, most of the things that you are already using in the back office and in the web now, because I'm sure most of you have some kind of the web rolled out, that all carries over. So, for example, import templates. I'm not talking about WFM now. I'm talking about commissions or any kind of time import that you use. All those templates that you set up in the back office, they're already on the web. Okay, so you don't have to recreate them. They're already there. So once you roll out the web, all those templates are going to be there for you. You don't have to do a thing. Okay, so that's something else to keep in mind. Analytics. This is unique to the gateway. Once you're running payroll, the system will automatically run some analytical reports for you, as well as the other reports, for example, active employees not paid, or the analytics conclude a report that says, hey, this payroll is whatever, 500,000. Last payroll was only 300,000. It gives you a little clue in saying like, wait a minute, what happened here that now my payroll this time is 500 versus the 300. Were there bonuses? If there were, then you're fine. But it at least gives you that heads up automatically right in front of you as soon as you process the payroll. Securing payroll steps. This is very complicated in the back office. If anybody on the call has secured steps, secured payroll processes in the back office, they'll know how difficult it was to go into the US Explorer and go in and turn off things. On the web, it is simple. I'm going to show you what that is. Automatic report generation, I think I talked about that based on a step. So again, calculate step, I want my pre-check registers. My prints, I want my print checks, my print direct deposits, and my positive pay file and my notcha file all to come out in one step. It can be done instead of having to click 4 times. Something that's that's kind of unique to the web is importing multiple files. This is, I'm not talking about WFM now. WFM is a separate separate kind of task, because from WFM, if anybody has WFM on the call, that information moves directly into the payroll batch tables without even knowing. I mean, the system automatically will bring that in. You don't have to click on the import. The system will automatically bring all of that WFM information into your payroll batch tables during payroll. But if you're importing multiple files, for example, commissions or deductions or anything that's an import, you can, on the web, import multiple files using multiple templates to multiple pay groups all at once. Okay, that was a mouthful. Let me say it again. So in the back office, you know how you go to the time and you say time entry, you select your template, you select your company, and you hit import. One company or one pay group at a time. On the web, let's say you had 15, 20 pay groups, all using different templates. You have a commission file, you have a time file, you have a United Way file. You have all these different files that you do using different formats. You can input them all at once for all your pay groups by hitting one button. That's a mind blower right there. Time saver. Something else that is unique to the web is the time entry template. I'll show you what that is. But basically, imagine you're importing time, and after you import time, but before you post it over to the batch tables, you can look at that information, and you can edit and change that information. You can add checks, you can do mass updates, you can delete an employee, you can add more hours, all before you get over to the batch tables. Because once you get to the batch tables, you have to call up Mario, change his overtime, save it. You have to call up Aisha, give her an additional 20 hours of overtime, save it. In the web, you can do it all in mass, and once it posts over to the web, to the batch tables, it's already done for you. Huge time saver. Then something that's my favorite called the undo. Back office doesn't have it. There is that payroll status table that you can turn things off and change things. That's still there. But the undo, to take it to the extreme, allows you to get rid of all the steps that you've done during the payroll process all the way back up to start. Whereas right now, if you're in the back office and you input the wrong file, and let's say you calculate pays and you have reports and you realize, uh-oh, this is not right. In order to go back to the start, you have to call support, and support has to do it for you. The web allows you to undo the payroll all the way back to your start, like the payroll was never opened. You can make all your changes and then reopen your payroll. The only caveat there is that it has to happen before you print. Once you print, the back office is the same way. Once you print, that is the stop. That once you print, the system's going to say, okay, you printed your checks. I can't do that. Then you have to get somebody involved. But before you do the print, by that point, you've checked your pre-check registers and everything, so you're pretty sure that the payroll is fine. You can undo it up to that point. Pending pay, one of my favorite items. I implemented for a lot of years. And one of the things I always had was, the person doing the payroll, they had a folder. And in that folder, they said, oh, pay, Veronica another 5 hours of overtime because I missed it last pay. Or pay, take away Aisha, we paid her too much regular. We have to take it back. And they had to open that folder each time and input the information. Well, imagine if you have something called pending pay where you can enter all that information up ahead of time, and this is earnings and deductions, and make adjustments. You can do positive earnings, positive deductions, negative deductions, and the best part, you can schedule it. So you can say, oh yeah, I want this bonus that I'm going to give to Mark to be available, but I don't want to give it to him until the December payroll. So you can enter that as a pending pay item and the system will track it for you. And when you go to open the payroll, and there's a slide that shows you this, it reminds you, hey, you have pending items here. Do you want them or not? And you can either put them on or take them off. So again, huge item. Compensation and import. If you have the compensation module, you know how you put in bonuses and compensation there. The import comes in automatically when you start the payroll. And this is what I've been saying. The WFM import it goes direct into the batch tables. It ignores any kind of an import button. It goes right in automatically for you. And the last thing is, whether you know it or not, really nothing has been added to the back office. Nothing will be added to the back office. Of course, it's compliant. The tax, everything there is working. Yes, but there's nothing new going to be added to the back office. Hasn't been for many, many years, and it won't be in the future. Okay. Any questions so far? No? Okay, cool. Let me go to the next slide. All right. So these are the simple steps. And some of these, like I said, you may already have in play. Security, you have to set up a payroll admin role. So if anybody has rolled out any kind of the web, you know that there's roles. Roles control security in the web. So you have to set up a role type called payroll admin. And you qualify that by pay group. Once you assign it to the payroll people, you assign the payroll admin role, qualify it by pay group. That's it. That's all you have. If you already have it done, you don't even need it. The models are system delivered. So if you're a small market, mid-market customer, or even enterprise, what it doesn't really matter. The models are there for you to use. They're already there. So you don't really have to set up anything. You can pick one that has import. You can pick one that doesn't have import. There's like 7 or 8 models available to you right now. Imports. I already talked about this because I think it's huge. If you have time clock imports set up that is working now in the back office, they're already on the web, folks. You don't have to do anything to that. They're already there. Okay, so that's not something you even have to set up. Pay groups, obviously, everybody who processes payroll has to have a pay group or else you can't process. The only difference is on the web, you assign the model to the pay group. So you can have an hourly pay group that has a model that just includes auto pay. You have an hourly pay group, you assign a model that has the time import. Okay, so you assign a model to the pay group, and it can be the same model across the board. It doesn't really matter. Pending pay, again, it's there. You can use it. Nothing you have to set up. Everything is there. All your earnings come in, all your deductions come in, all your taxes come in, already there. WFM, if you're using WFM, then this applies to you. If not, then no. But again, the WFM information goes directly from the WFM into the payroll batch tables during payroll. The last thing I want to say is like rolling out. This is another fear that I want to dispel right now. You don't have to, if you have multiple pay groups, you don't have to move them all at the same time. So if you have a salary pay group that has 1,000 employees and an hourly payroll that has 10,000 employees, and you have another one that has 50 employees, well, maybe start with the 50. Let's roll this one out first, see how it works. And then once that's done, then I'll go to the hourly and I'll go to the salary. But you do not have to process them all at once. Excuse me, let me get a glass of water. No questions, Aisha?
None at this time.
Okay, cool. Let's move on. Okay, so this is just a snapshot of what the gateway looks like. At the top there, you see different tasks you can perform. You can create an off-cycle payroll. That's just a fancy way of saying supplemental. Off-cycle supplemental payroll, same thing, but you can create it on the web. You can manage adjustments. So I want to, I was, an employee was taxed incorrectly. I want to take the tax out of North Carolina, move it to Florida. You can do that right there under manage adjustment. You can create instant checks. Again, another fancy way of saying a manual check. You can create them here. Unresolved payroll items. This is a nice one because the system is smart enough once you're processing that it won't let you post if it determines that something is wrong with an employee, even one employee. Well, in order to find out what that employee is, you can just click on that unresolved payroll items. It'll give you who the employee is and what's wrong with it. Could be that the deduction exceeded the gross or the taxes aren't calculated correctly. Whatever it is, you fix that employee or the employees, and the system allows you to post. Down in the middle here, you have just information. This is where you look at the pending details for the pays, the pending pay items next to that. Distributions are for your direct deposits if you want to see that. And then you also have a link for learning resources that helps you through the payroll process. And then down the bottom section, that's where all the pay groups are listed along with the start date, end date. And then the little green section that you see there, that's where you can select whether I want to process one pay group at a time, or I want to process my payroll by status, which means that basically I want to process all the or multiple, not all, but multiple pay groups at one time and let the system do that calculation for me. Payroll reports, payroll setup. Payroll reports are the ones that, again, part of the gateway gives you access to the payroll reports, the pre-check register, the employees not paid listing. You see that more button at the bottom. Well, if you click on that more button, then it takes you to the actual payroll reports page where you have all the reports in the system. And every report that's in the back office is on the web. So again, you don't have to do a thing there. Payroll setup, those are the business rules, the setup tables. So this is only the setup tables that are for payroll. But again, if you click on the more, it takes you to your business rule setup tables, and it has every table there that you have access to. This is all controlled by security. And then you have a calendar that we had in the back office. You can click on that and it highlights your calendar for the year. You can actually print it out if you want to. So let's talk about the gateway. And this is just a sample of the gateway again, but what I want to focus on is the things I can do. Again, controlled by your security. The payroll admin probably would have access to everything on this page, but these are just things I can do. If you don't see it under when you log in, it's probably because your role doesn't have it turned on. That's just a matter of going into the roles, turning it on under the rights, coming back in, it's on. And you see the the fourth one down, this says undo payroll. That's the one that lets you go back in time if you don't need it. By the way, I want to go focus one more thing. There's a little edit button in blue right in the middle of the screen there. So in this case, it allows you to change the model for this payroll. So for example, in this case, I have the base with time import model, which allows me time. But this time I want to go to this pay group, but I don't want to import time. I don't have to import time. All you have to do is click on the edit, change the model to one that does not have the import time step, save it, and move on. And it'll change for you right in front of your eyes. So if you select it and you save it, the steps automatically change for you. So you'll see that the import disappears. And right under that, you see the word that said analytics. So again, two ways to process payroll. You have one pay group at a time, and you have multiple pay groups. And I think I've talked about this enough, but you have the flexibility. One payroll, you might want to do multiple pay groups because I want to run them all at the same time. But then the next payroll, you know what? I only want to do a supplemental for my hourly employees. I only want to process one. You can go back and forth, back and forth. Okay, this is what I was talking about. When you're importing time, again, not WFM, you have all your templates that you created in the back office. They're going to be there listed, which is that that long list you see there. Again, and I know I'm like, this is the horse that I keep beating because it's dead, but you don't have to set these up again. They're already there for you. So once you turn on once you set up the models and the pay groups, if you went to import time, you'd see all of your pay groups and all of your um, templates and your sessions right there. So in this particular, I'm just highlighting, you can import multiple source files with multiple templates for multiple pay groups all at once, which is going to save you a lot of time. So I have a commission file, a deduction file, a time file, whatever files you have, depending on, regardless of the template, regardless of the pay group, you can import them all at once, and the system's smart enough to separate them and give you reports for each one, by the way, which is really nice. This is what I was talking about, the analytics, the active but not paid employees, and the zero net pay. Right in the back office, you actually had to run a report. This is not the employees not paid now. This is active employees that have not been paid for this cycle. It's a little bit different because the employees not paid report is actually active and terminated. You can actually filter some of that stuff out. But in this case, just active employees that weren't getting paid this cycle. So it's letting you know. And then the bottom is the compare. So this is basically comparing this payroll to the last payroll and letting you know, hey, the amounts are close or the amounts are way off. And it's way off. Maybe there's some investigation that you need to do in order to find out why. Could be perfectly fine. No questions? Wow. Okay. Okay. So when you do pending pay and you do compensation, when you go to start your payroll, to open your payroll, to use the back office terminology, the two that are highlighted there in red will give you the option to either import compensation if you have compensation pending, or import your pending pay. So once you enter the pending pay, and there's like a small approval process that you can turn on there in the pending pay item. So I put in my pending pay. Aisha's the manager. She submits it. She approves it. And then once I go into the payroll, if the date that I put the pending pay is the same date as the payroll that I'm running, the system will display, hey, you have items here for pending pay. Do you want them included or not? And then you can actually turn them on or turn them off. If you turn it off, it'll come back in next time. And then the bottom is the same as the back office, where you can select or deselect the earnings and deductions you want for this payroll. And there's your payroll model up at the top. This is just a little slide just showing you how in the back office you have open payroll, create pay batches, time import, calculate pays, print checks, print direct deposits, et cetera, et cetera. And the web, you have the same steps, but the difference is that you can combine steps into a process. So for example, if I wanted to open my payroll and create my pay batches just by pushing one button, I can do it. If you wanted to import time and print a time import edit, you can do it. You can just set it up. The models are already like this, by the way, because we're smart enough and we put them out there so people can use them. If you want to calculate pays and get your pre-checks already done for you, that's the process. So that's what the steps are. You have multiple steps, and I think this next slide shows you. This is the create and calculate pay. Notice it says create. This one's actually creating the work tables, calculating gross to net, and then running 3 reports: your payroll edit, the pre-check detail, and the pre-check exception report, all by pushing that one button right there. And as you go along, you see the little green arrow, green check mark that's next to the start. That's what tells you it keeps you in sync. So there's no way. There's 2 reasons. Number one, notice that the bottom 2, calculate and finish, are dim. So you could even if you wanted to, you couldn't push those buttons. In the back office, everything's there. You can push it. It'll give you an error, but you can push it. Here, it doesn't even allow you to do that. It just says, nope, you can't finish those until you create you run this step beforehand. And if it's successful, it gives you a little green check box. And then on the other side, it tells you it's completed, when it was done, and who actually did it. So it keeps track of it for you, so you know who's running the payrolls. Okay, this is what I was talking about when it comes to securing the steps. This is for distributed processing. Uh, so, for example, let's say Aisha and I are payroll uh, processors. Veronica is the manager. So Aisha has access to certain pay groups. I have access to certain pay groups, and we can only do certain things. For example, in this particular case, and I'll use the example that's on the screen, all we can do is import time. See how the bring in time is not it's highlighted, where the other ones are all with little locks next to them. So the only thing that we have to do in order to set this up is create a role, call it the import time role, assign that role to Aisha and to me, and then Veronica, who's the manager, she has access to everything. So when she logs in, there's no locks on anything. Everything's available to her. So then the next step after you do that is on the model itself. You can go to each step on the model. And by step, I mean start payroll, create batches, import time, verify time. Those are all steps. And say for start, I I only want Veronica. For create pay batches, I only want Veronica. For bring in time, I want Mario and I want Aisha. So then when we log in, this is what we would see. We would not be able to click on anything. We'd see it, but we would not be able to click on anything that is not approved, that's not secured to us based on my role. It's awesome. Okay, another one of my favorite things, time entry template worksheet. So imagine if you import time and you have 500 commission payments and you have some other things that you want to bring into the time other than what's in the source file before you get to the batch tables. Because once you post that time to the batch tables, to the payroll batch tables, then you really have to call it up one employee at a time and make a change. But what if you had all 500 employees with all of the commissions that you imported? By the way, I'm using commissions as an example, but you can say regular, overtime, holiday, personal. You can put in every earning code that you want and then open that spreadsheet up with all the information that was imported and then massage that information. Give 3 hours more to Joe, take away 2 hours from Sally, add, excuse me, add an additional check, delete an employee completely, do a mass update. I want to give everyone holiday pay for 8 hours for this entire payroll. All of that is done prior to posting the payroll tables. Excuse me, let me get a drink of water here. I'm so excited, I'm choking now. So you can update time for multiple employees at once using the mass update feature within the template. And then you can sort it. You can actually print it out if you wanted to, all before it hits the payroll batch tables. And then once you hit the payroll batch tables, all this information that you've done is already there. You don't have to call it up. You can actually go right to the calculate step and move forward. It's a huge time saver. So this is the table. Again, it's already part of your system, so it's already there. It's time entry template. You set up a template based on your needs. So in this particular case, I'm just setting up an hourly template for my active employees. I want to display my pay rates. If you have, if you're a multi-loc customer, for example, you have employees that work in South Carolina, North Carolina, or Florida and Georgia, what have you, then you want to turn on that display multiple locations, and the system will actually create 2 or 3 or however many lines for the employees, one with a Florida location, one with a Georgia location. Jobs, if you're a multi-job employee, for restaurants that have many jobs that they work, you can turn that on and the system will come in with the jobs that are assigned to the employee. In the jobs, it's usually just a primary job, but if you're importing time for multiple jobs, the system will create multiple lines for that employee. So Mario could be a cook, a waiter, and a server, and a maitre d'. I want to see 3 lines with my rates for each one. That's there. Then the next column over is where you start selecting your column. So imagine an Excel spreadsheet. Right now, I'm just going across the top. You know, when you type in employee number, company code, okay, the same thing. You're only selecting it from here. So in my particular case, I have the employee number and the full name. The next one is I'm going to select my earnings. all the earnings that you have are available here, regardless of whether they're with an employee or not. If you bring in every code, and I don't have a code, but Aisha does, my line will have it. It will be grayed out, so you can't access it. But Aisha's line will be highlighted, so you can. Okay, so you select your earning codes. If you want deductions, you can bring those in as well. You can bring in your org levels, your organization levels. If you want to change organization levels, you can bring those in. And down, see the little check mark that says editable? That means that, hey, you know what? When I bring in the time, I want to be able to change my department code from department 100 to department 200 or what have you, um, on the employee, because that is going to be a downstream effect for GL purposes later. Okay, so that's a good thing there. And then you have the summary, which just gives you the column order. This is the order that you selected it, but you can, if your little arrows up and down, you can actually restructure that table. So I can say, well, I want my overtime hours before my regular, then I want my sick and vacation. So you can put that in whatever order is going to make sense to you. You can create as many of these templates as you want. Okay, you can have one for just commission. You can have one for overtime. You can have one for regular, or you can have one that has 80% of your earning codes. Best practice recommendation, I would not keep it where you have like 50 earning codes across the top, because when you open up the template, you're going to be scrolling back and forth to find the codes. Okay, so that might be something that um, that you might want to think about when you're doing it. But doesn't matter. Let's say you created a template, it didn't work for you. Just go back into it, edit the template, and change it. Easy. And then once you import the time and you open this template, this is what it's going to look like based on your needs. Notice I have regular and overtime and sick and meals. See where it says meals NA? That's probably because these people did not have the meals earning code assigned to them. That's why it says. And some of them, I don't know if you can see it on here in the slide, but some of them are a little darker than others. That the darker ones means that yes, they're available, and the other ones say they're not. That's all they are. The other thing you can do here, you can delete a code. Mario does not get meals this time. You can insert a row. By inserting a row, what are you doing? You're inserting a check. Instead of clicking on the plus sign, going in and pay data entry, no. You put this in, and the last column you see there, it says pay. It's kind of a little bit off center there, but it usually says pay one. But if you just insert a row, the system will automatically insert a row with the same codes and just make it pay two. And then all you have to do is bring that in. The system will create that additional check, or 3 checks or 4 checks, whatever it is. You can just keep inserting. Okay. You can delete a row. Yeah, this person shouldn't get paid this time. You can take the employee information. So if you click on a whoever Renee and just click employee information, it'll give you what the setup is, what their organization levels look like, that kind of thing. It's just employee information. Again, very, very cool. Then up at the top, you have the save button and the finish button. The finish will say like, I'm done with it, move it over to the table. Then you go back to your model and you post. Remember, at this point, you've only done import and verify. You haven't done the post. Once you finish this, then you do the post, and everything that you've done here, plus all the information that you imported, moves over to the end, to the batch tables. At the bottom, which I don't have a picture of, and I apologize, you have footer totals. So you can actually verify that the information you have ties to whatever report you have that's balancing to it. Awesome. Okay, this is my famous undo, which I think is the best thing since sliced bread here. So imagine I started my payroll, I created my pay batches, I brought in time, and then I realized, oops, this is the wrong payroll. I opened a payroll for May and it's supposed to be June. The only way you can change that calendar is to go back to and basically restart the payroll. The back office, you can do some of that, but in order to restart, you have to call support, right? On the web, you have the undo. Notice all I did was, in this particular case, just to give you a little background, I clicked that little undo button on the things I can do, and all these little undo arrows came up telling me I can undo everything. So my choice is, well, I can undo just to bring in time, and it'll wipe out anything I brought in, or I can undo by create pay batches, and then it will undo the bring in time and create pay batches. Or I can go all the way back to start payroll and click that. It will undo everything. It will get rid of time you imported. It will uncreate, if that's a word, your batch tables, and it will close, not close, it will unopen your payroll. Okay. I think it's great because it allows you to make mistakes and then you can go back and change it. The other thing I want to point out, just like the back office has a reset on the time imports, you have the import, you have the verify, you have the reset. Well, that little box that you see in blue, that's the reset here too. So it's there as well. And also the undo will hold true up until the print. Once you print, that's the point of no return. You cannot undo the payroll once you print the step. Okay. So again, it's there for you. All you have to do is use it. This is just saying, it gives you a message. Hey, you've decided to undo the entire payroll, you're actually going to restart the payroll. It will undo the start. You're going to see it like it never existed. Okay. So just to summarize, how are we doing on questions?
Are so good. Someone would like to clarify, if we undo create batches, it will automatically bring in time. I was
Yes.
just about to answer that via chat, but if you want to go ahead and answer that,
Yeah,
feel
it
free.
will, yeah, it will absolutely undo the bring in time. If you undo a step above it, it does the step below it and the step that you selected. So yes, it will do. Just like if you select start, it will undo everything you've done up and including start. So yes. Okay. Everything else okay though? Specifically templates that we have created for clients in the back. Okay. So everything's been answered, Aisha?
Yes, sir.
You're awesome. Okay. So let me just a couple more points to clarify here. Back office time import templates, you don't need to recreate anything. Again, this is almost to say like, okay, take a breath. It's not going to be that bad. It's actually great, and everybody that we've implemented loves the web. Custom imports. This is a good one. If you have a custom, now I'm talking about a true custom, where I'm assuming UKG created a special report for you, what they call an SP, a stored procedure. More likely than not, you can still keep it. It's not that you're going to have to do another custom. Because again, going back to my first statement, the, the, the tables that it uses are the same. The processes that it uses are the same. So if your custom is running when, let's say, you create batches, that step on the web, when you create the batches, will also run the custom. The only way to make absolutely sure is to test it, which obviously has to be tested. Okay. WFI, WFM, I think we talked about that. It's automatically used. It doesn't use those temporary tables. The import session versus template. I don't want to confuse anybody. When you create a template in the back office, it's a format. You have the employee number, you have the company code, you have, I'm going to bring in regular and overtime and holiday. That's a template. Before you can use that template, you have to create what they call a session, which is that second step. And you can create as many sessions as you want for that template. So I can have a session. Let's say I call this import payroll. I can create a session for Aisha, call it Aisha. I can create a session for Mario, call it Mario. I can create a session for Amy, a session for Nicole, a Shane. I can create as many sessions and just reference that template. The web will display the sessions. Why? Because you can have one template with multiple sessions, multiple people. And if I'm Mario and I'm going to run my session, it's not going to confuse, and I'm going to run Aisha's or Cheryl's or Amy's or anybody else's. I'm going to run the session that it says Mario's. Okay, it'll reference a template that you're accessing. It's the same thing, by the way, in the back office. When you're looking at the template, you're looking at the session name, not the template. Just want to clarify that. Payroll models. Payroll models can be configured unless you're a mid-market or a small market customer. And I don't know who's on the call, but if you're a mid-market customer, you have to use one of the delivered template models. But again, there's like 7 or 8 models available to you. Usually we don't have a problem. Time entry templates, I think we talked about that. Is a very cool way to manage the time import information prior to going to the batch tables. Pending pay, if you haven't seen it, I urge you to see it. It's awesome. Test, obviously. We're not going to I'm going to run all 500 of my pay groups at one time, and I'm not going to test it. No. So that's why we start with a small pay group, maybe, a couple hundred employees, 1,000 employees. Run that. Make sure that you get your feet wet. You make sure that you understand the process, and not that you're going to have any issues, but just in case, you run a small payroll first, and then you start rolling them out little by little. And the back office does not go away. That's kind of a misnomer. It will be going away next year. So I want to make sure everybody knows that. The only criteria, and I should have put this in big bold letters, it's number 11. Between now and whenever you decide to roll it out, if you are still processing some pay groups in the back office and some payrolls in the web, which is absolutely okay, the only thing we ask is that wherever you start the payroll, you finish the payroll. So if you want to, let's say you have all your pay groups rolled out to the web, but this one time, you know what, it's just a commission file. I'm only going to issue like 20 checks. I'm going to do it in the back office. Fine. You start the payroll in the back office. You finish the payroll in the back office. If you started on the web, you finish on the web. If you start going like, okay, I'm going to open the payroll in the back office, then I'm going to create my pay batches on the web, then I'm going to calculate that. If you go back and forth, the systems, both systems, although you're looking at the same table, they each have a status. Remember that payroll status table that you have in the back office? Well, the web has the same thing. But if you keep going back and forth like that, it could be that the two status tables, which actually talk to each other, get out of whack. They go like, whoop. Like this one thinks it's on one step and this one thinks it's another. That's dangerous. And it's not a big deal. We come across it all the time. We fixed it. But in order to avoid that, wherever you start a payroll, you finish the payroll, and you will never have a problem. I promise you. Okay. Pending pay is effective dated. That will be yes. It's actually effective dated. It pulls in whatever calendar that the person is in, and then you select the pay date that you want that to be applied. So, for example, I can enter something today, and have it come in my December payroll. Yes, it is. The GL information that is in the back office comes automatic. This is why, like a lot of people are, oh my God, I have to set up my GL again. And you all know GL is a nightmare. No, you don't have to do any of that. In fact, if you don't have it right set up now, you have a GL in the back office, and you set up, if you go to the web, and if you have access to set up your GL rules, go to the GL rules table, and you'll see all of your rules already there. There's nothing you have to do. Mosaic has some things that we can offer you. We have various pricing packages. If you need our help or want our help, please contact us. Those are the two information, info@mosaicCG.com, or our website, www.mosaicCG.com. And that's all I have for you today. Any questions that I have not answered, anything I said that might have confused you, I want to make sure that you go away with like a good understanding of what we have here. Okay. Well, with that, I think, let's see, where are we? We're at 49 minutes. We scheduled an hour, so we have 10 minutes to spare. I'm giving you back 10 minutes. I thank you. We both, Aisha and I, thank you for attending. I saw a lot of good questions out there. If you have anything else that you want us to respond to, by all means, use that email address, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Okay? Thank you again, and have a great rest of your day.